the title of the conference is Communities Discriminated on Dissent and Work and Slavery. Therefore, the bringing together the two issues, discrimination of caste and work and then slavery. And I think these are not two separate issues, they are one and the same. In terms of Dalits, they are, though they were not called slaves, they were called by their caste names, but they were virtual slaves. And I made the observation in the conference at the end of the panel saying that the bonded labor legislation and bonded labor as an issue has not been addressed by the Dalit movements, tribal movements, and then whatever, even NCDHR head on and made use of this legislation, both the fundamental right in the Constitution, Article 23, and the Bonded Labor Act from 1975. If these were used, and I think these are Dalit issues, that's what I say, bonded labor is a Dalit issue. It is not just a human rights issue, and therefore if at all any group has to own up the issue, it should be the Dalit movements, tribal movements and Dalit organizations. And it is right time this conference would, I think, if it can lead to greater action in implementing the act, that is to eradicate bonded labor. The bonded labor, definitely the larger Dalit and tribal communities will empower economically and also socially. Now modern slavery is a construct, and I am not very happy with that. I am very much happy with contemporary forms of slavery, because both slavery and bonded labor, the entire setup, administrative setup may be, political setup may be, judicial, doesn't want to address it. It denies. That is the larger mindset. Whoever has taken up action, it has been done very sporadically. Good ministers, good administrators, good judges. It has happened very sporadically, not in a very continuous, on a system basis. And that has to happen. And that will happen only when civil groups, Dalit groups especially, and if Dalit is a tribal and Dalit issue, and if they take up, and for that matter any right, a right exists on paper unless people affected by the right fight for it and get it. Nobody gives the right on platter. You have to fight for it. And so far, by and large, very few groups have fought for bonded labor. Swami Agnivesh's Bandhu Mukti, Jai Singh's Dalita Dasta Virodhi Andolan, Jivika, and there are so many groups on Dalit issues, on women issues, and environment, on child labor. But just for the entire country, there are many groups who come very sporadically now and then when there are funds available, programs are there, projects are there, they'll come in large numbers. But dedicating to a particular issue full time and full scale, just 2-3 like this, and for the issue for the entire country, it's nothing. Therefore, if the Dalit groups, movements take up Bonded Labor Act in full seriousness and implement it, I think bonded labor will be eradicated. To that extent, I think the utter poverty of Dalits and tribals also will come to an end. If we succeed in, it should not be based on the goodwill of the administrators or politicians or judiciary. Whoever may come, that has to be implemented. A systematic process, time-bound process, mechanism should be established. And that will come only when people fight for it continuously. The very first, as I said, I think it's good to repeating it, very first to say bonded labor is a Dalit issue, tribal issue. Declare it full scale, and that will, all the rest will follow. Take the Bonded Labor Act in all its fullness, and there are so many judgments by the Supreme Court and the latest 2012 judgment. There are so many recommendations. If they are implemented, that is enough. And then there is 2016 Central Sector scheme of rehabilitation of bonded laborers, wonderful scheme, except for one clause, section 6.2, if that can be modified, I think that is a great scheme. There are the central government earlier, before 2016, central and state government just shared, and it was just 20,000. Now they have come out with a scheme which says cash component and non-cash component. Earlier, it was what called blueprint to say cash, non-cash, but now the scheme says the cash component will be totally given by central government, and that cash component is enormous. 1 lakh rupees for men, 2 lakh rupees for women and children, 3 lakh rupees for persons in special circumstances like transgender, disabled, various, and sex workers. But of this amount, 20,000 will be given immediately or when the release certificate is given. The balance will be given when the state government works out a complete rehabilitation package for the bonded labour with skill development. Therefore, and only if this report on what the state government makes for rehabilitation, then the central government will give that cash component, balance component. But it also has said summary trial has to be conducted, and the punishment has to be declared. If these two are given, the balance component. Therefore, I think after post 2016, not a single bonded laborer in the entire country has got this balance amount. And if see this amount and rehabilitation scheme, say bonded laborer in the villages, migrant laborers, if they are given a scheme where they can live on their own, earning daily livelihood, dignified livelihood, what else is required? There would not be migrant labor, or even if migrant, they will be able to live well. And there are enough government schemes. It only requires administrative and political will to say we'll give this to the bonded laborers, and therefore and accompanying skill. Apart from if that is but this at least then if that happens, and this cash component, I think implementation of the act and whatever as they are, if they are implemented, they will be great.